Hey everybody, it's Michelle LaVore here, and I wanted to share with you some more about just what God has revealed to me in regards to the enemy and spiritual battle. And so in our last video, we were talking about just kind of how God's peeled back this layer, and we're really seeing a lot more of just the enemy and his camp and where he's coming from and that sort of thing. And a couple weeks ago, I actually had a dream, and I just wanted to kind of share with you just how real and how intense the enemy is. And this dream came after a night for me where I just felt like I had a major breakthrough with prayer. I was praying at the time. I was really praying for the promises that God has given us, and I was just really, I can't even explain it, but really praying in the spirit and just with a lot of power and authority. And that night, I ended up having a dream, and so in this dream, there was this. It was like there was some sort of accident, and it was dark. It was at night. There's some sort of accident, and I'm on this road, and there's multiple cars. And so I get out of my car, and there's this guy, and he's like, "Hey, come with me, come in this car." And I'm like looking back, and I'm just like, I didn't feel like I should leave, but I was like confused. And so I get into the car, and we're driving, and as we're driving, I'm like, man, this road is like really, really familiar. I'm not, I've been down this road before. And the man, I could tell, like, I could sense that I was actually in danger. And we're driving down, and I just started feeling like this, I was sensing the lust he was feeling for me. And he put his hand on me, and I was just on my leg, and I was just really, really uncomfortable. And it was dawning on me like, whoa, this man is like, it was really intense, like the amount of lust that he was having for me. And like I knew like he wanted to rape me, and he wanted to just like I knew my life was in danger, and he wanted to destroy me. And we're going down this road, and I'm just like, okay, I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? But part of me was just like, okay, if I just, go along, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Like somehow I will get out of this, but I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm just going to keep going. And so we drive, and we go to a restaurant, and it looked very similar to like an In-N-Out restaurant. I don't know if any of you have been to In-N-Out. It's a chain on the West Coast, and they sell hamburgers. But we went into this restaurant, and we're ordering food, and I'm just very uncomfortable, but I didn't want to do anything because I was afraid. I was really afraid that if I did anything, something terrible would happen. And so we order food, and then he was just like, told me to stay there to wait for our food while he left. Well, I look over, and he had went to the bathroom, and like the door was open, and I could see he was standing by a garbage can, and he actually had like my wallet, and I see him pull out, like throwing away my wallet. But the one thing that really stuck out to me was there was my driver's license, and he was throwing my driver's license away. And it was in that moment that I just realized, oh my goodness, like he literally is going to kill me. Like if I stay with him, I am going to die. And I knew my life was in danger. And so I'm just like turning around, I'm looking around, and in the restaurant there was just all these other people, and they were just sitting there having a good time. And then there was these two women that were sitting talking, and so he comes out of the bathroom, and he's like right there, and he gets our order, and then he looks at me and he throws the food away, and he asks the women, he's like, hey, do you know where another restaurant is? And I was just like, I knew that if I went with him, I would be dead. And I kept telling these women, I'm like, hey, this man, he's trying to hurt me. Like, he is evil. Like, I can't go with him. And they just kind of like were looking at me like, what are you talking about? He seems really nice. Like, they didn't understand, what was going on. And so then that's pretty much kind of where that dream ended. But what really stuck out to me was my driver's license. And because I really felt like it was like God was showing me, like, that is what the enemy wants. He wants to take your identity and completely throw it away. He wants to kill you. He wants to destroy you. He hates you. Realize that. This is not some enemy that, you're going to talk to and he's going to be rational and, you can get out of the situation. No, he wants to kill you. And I was just like, whoa, and this actually kind of ties in with what we were talking about on our other video about the church needing to wake up. Because I also feel like, we were in the setting of a restaurant, but it was as if it's like there's all these people mingling, and if you were to take that in the church context, it's like here are all these people mingling, having a good time, and they do not realize what just came through that door and how it's destroying someone else's life, and it's like we need to wake up to the reality of the enemy and how much he hates God's people. He hates God. He crucified Jesus. He wants to do the same with us. And then I kind of woke up, but then I didn't wake up yet, but there was a second dream. It was like I had a dream, it stopped, and then there was this next dream. And so the next dream, it was very similar situation. I was in a restaurant. This time, though, I had my son with me, my infant son, and I was sitting at a table, and I was just with some other people, and then I saw the same man come in, and I could tell he was looking at me. He was ready to come and get me. And so I take my baby, and I'm just trying to and that was the thing, my baby was hungry, and I was just I'm carrying him around and trying to hide and, all this stuff. And then I go into, it's kind of, picture it like, a lot of restaurants, they have like a party room where it's kind of separate. And so I went in there, and I knew he was still coming for me, but he wasn't in that particular room yet. But I was sitting, and then there was this group. It was like kind of like an AA meeting type group. So there's all these people standing around, and there was a leader, and they're like, okay, let's gather up, and it was closing time for the restaurant, and they're kind of sweeping up everything, but I was like, ooh, I wanted to get to this group of people, because I was like, I could find some sort of protection, because I was starting to get afraid. And so I go over, and there's a guy that's in the group, and he just looks at me and is like, you struggle with lust? And I was like, lust? What? No. But it was this atmosphere. You could just feel like the spirit of lust. And then I woke up. And I kind of felt like, for me, our son, the baby, he represents, like, God has told us that he He is a sign of the promises that God's going to fulfill in our lives. And I just felt like, because earlier that night I had been praying, that was what I was praying for. I was feeding the promises through praying what God wanted me to pray. And it was like the enemy did not like that. And so here I am, I'm protecting the promise, I'm feeding the promise, and here he comes. He is just, he wants to get at that. And so it was very intrigued. Like, I ended up waking up, and I really was feeling some fear, and so I ended up waking Devin up. It was pretty early in the morning, and I was talking through it, and I felt then that's when God was giving me some of the revelation. But I think the biggest revelation I got was the fact that the enemy hates us, and he really lusts after us in just a way of just anger, and just he wants to devour us. And he is not an enemy that is nice. I think that's something that really the church has done, is by not talking about how real the enemy is. Maybe they don't want to be afraid, so let's just not address that thing. It's done us all kind of a disservice in the fact that he's become something that, okay, yeah, the enemy's there. Oh, the enemy, he's, we know that Satan's there, and, it's like drugs are bad, don't do this, don't do that. But it's very mild. And that is such a trap. It is not mild. The amount of hate that the enemy has for us is very, very real. And I think we just need to wake up to that fact that he does not like us, and it's not alike. He hates us. And so I just want you guys to be aware of that. We have an enemy who is out to destroy us because we love God, and he hates God. So it's like we can't expect any less from what he tried to do to Jesus, that he wants to do in our own lives. But I also want to just encourage you guys in the fact that Jesus overcame the enemy. We have victory because Jesus died. The enemy thought that he killed Jesus, but Jesus gave up his life willingly because he knew that his sacrifice would allow us to have relationship with God, and it would allow us to have victory over the enemy in every single area of our life. And so when we go to God and we proclaim the name of Jesus over the areas of our life where Satan has come in to destroy, we will have the victory. And so just be strong and be courageous, because God is our victor. And so you also have the victory. So I hope that you guys are encouraged. I hope that this opens your eyes to what is really going on, and that the battle is real, y'all. So until next time, I'll see you later.